My name's Critter Broadnax from Athens, Georgia. I grew up in a middle-class family, have a brother and a sister. Went to a local private school in Athens. Sixth grade, I got asked to leave. My eighth grade, ninth grade year, started drinking and using drugs. My ninth grade year at Clark Central, I was at a party and we were throwing gasoline on fire and a girl got burned. And there was a lawsuit. Then I was on the front page of the paper and my life took a turn for the worse there. I started selling drugs, using more drugs, drinking heavily. This led into my college years where my drug addiction exploded. It was a blur. I was going to jail on a bi-weekly basis. I was selling, just to keep my addiction going. I went to every college within 60 miles of Athens. I was out of control. When my dad was in the hospital, I was continuing to pray, God, please keep me sober. Thank you for keeping me sober at night. I stayed sober through this. I was using the 12-step program as an emergency room. Something bad would happen in my life, I would dive back in. 2 months after my sister died, I met Nicole. Still no church for me or God for me. Just praying to keep me sober. Nicole started attending Athens Church, was trying to convince me to go, and I didn't want any part of it. I can remember when I went and did not have a great experience, didn't like it, awkward. People were holding their hands up, didn't jive for me. And at this point, I was attending Athens Church, but I was selling drugs. My lifestyle didn't really, go with the way that I was living my life. Nicole and I have gotten married, and we've been married for a couple of years, and she's pressing on me pretty hard about a small group and joining a small group. And I finally give in.
We had been married for 2 months, and that's when we went to Group Link.
Group Link, first small group, disaster, the ones that they talk about.
The resolution room.
Then she convinced me to go to another Group Link, and we joined another small group, and it was a home run.
It was a super sweet group. It was exactly what we needed. The Lord provided in 100 different ways. We were the only couple in there without a kid, and those people just loved us.
It was awesome. This was a pivotal point in my life as Nicole put an ultimatum down of you needed to stop selling drugs. And she said, if you trust God, then He will provide. And I was scared to stop because this is how I provided for our family. She convinced me to stop. Immediately, He provided.
Things changed for us in a huge way from that point.
And at this point, I'm buying in a little bit. Church, small group, my relationship with God is getting there. And my best friend Hughes, we started a business together, and we got the call that Hughes had died, and Hughes had committed suicide.
Hughes and Critter did every single thing in life together. They hunted together, they fished together, they traveled together, they did work together. So it was a devastating loss.
I can remember at that point, right then, saying, God, there is not a God. This is just all a bunch of BS. Somehow, through that small group, I kind of started buying back in a little bit. It was a tough road there for a little while. And then I had a good year financially, and Nicole had convinced me at the end of the year that I needed to take another step, take this even further, and I needed to give. And I did not want to give. It was hard. And I remember Nicole and I sitting down at the computer on the last day of the year, and we typed it up there and hit send, and at Athens Church, it did not take it. And I immediately said, God doesn't want my money. He's not getting my money. This is not worth it. And eventually it started taking, and within 24 hours, I had gotten asked to be a partner in a company. And it was like a spotlight. It was one of those moments where it just happened so fast. It was immediate.
Critter had just recently, earlier in that year, made a decision to stop selling drugs. And that year was very financially successful for him. He showed up, he had faith, and the Lord responded. And that's what created an opportunity for us to give that money.
And for some reason, I have to get beat into submission to change, to take these steps. I don't know why, but I have to just get beat down. Life had gotten good. You know, we were going to Athens Church. We were living a married life. Had our first son. Then I had a situation come up with a business partner where I was in the wrong, and the dark thoughts came, depression, anxiety, fear, where I couldn't stop it. And I had suicidal thoughts that paralyzed me. Thought about suicide every day for 2 years.
It was harder than I think any loss that he had experienced or that we had experienced, because it went on and on and on. Up until this point, you would have said you were a Christian.
I would have.
And that you were following Jesus. But I think like what we kind of realized through Critter's experience is that he had been very self-dependent, and that instead of actually leaning on God, he'd been leaning on himself.
Through that darkness, that's when my relationship with God, you know, looking back, I can see it now, but that's when my relationship with God started growing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bottom. It was so low that there was really no choice. Critter's life was going to end, or he was going to do something drastic.
That was the first time in my life that I became God dependent.
This was harder than getting sober.
You know, looking back, it truly is what needed to take place so I could become God dependent.
So in September of 2018, we had a massive baptism event at Athens Church.
I can remember Sean asking people to come up, and I felt pulled, and I can remember asking Nicole, should I go?
He looked at me and he said, you know, babe, should I go? I looked at him and I said, babe, I can't make this decision for you. But my heart was like screaming and begging, and like I was screaming out to the Lord, please push him to go.
And I wanted to go, but I was scared to go. I don't know why, but I was scared to go. And I felt pulled, and so I went and got baptized, and it changed at that point immediately.
Based on that profession of faith, I now baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
I wept. Life changed. That was the day that I truly accepted Christ. You know, that fear and anxiety just got lifted.
It was powerful. And it was powerful for everybody that was there. Looking back and being on the other side of Critter's experience, we see that Critter needed every single day of that pain to bring him to a point where he was willing to be on his knees in submission and ask God to take it. Since the baptism, we had our third son, Cove.
Now we have 3 healthy boys. You know, we go to church. I come to Athens Church every Sunday. We love our small groups. You know, through this pandemic, we've really realized how
valuable that weekly interaction is with these people.
I mean, it's vital to our mental health, just to everything. We have learned.
It helps with our patience, the way we treat each other. You know, it's a level of accountability that we can't get in our house.
Today, I have true partnerships, and it's because of Jesus Christ. Our family, we know today that following Jesus is the way for us.
And that Jesus has transformed our life.